What is up, guys? Dirk here. Happy Saturday. So today, a bit of a different video than the normal TA. I actually just want to catch you up to speed with what is happening big picture in the crypto space, because the last couple of weeks have actually been pretty insane. So I'm going to walk you through that timeline from where all the regulatory FUD started, the SEC, who starts suing people, and then now the past week or so, we've had the SEC approve a Bitcoin ETF, BlackRock filing for ETFs, and all of a sudden it seems like all the major players are now completely bullish on crypto and digital assets. And it just seems like what has happened in the last, say, couple of weeks, couple months, is that it was just a major shakeout for the big players to come in, and then once they're all positioned and they're all set up, we get the green light and we go. Keep in mind, the Bitcoin halving is in less than a year from now. So we're going to look at that also a little bit later on the chart. And then I will show you what happened previously with those previous halvings in 2016, in 2020, and now we have in 2024. So we could actually be setting up for a next bull market, and it might actually already be in the process of happening this year, where it happens even sooner than most people think. So grab your favorite beverage, let's dive in and let's run through this timeline. All right, so going back just a couple of weeks to the beginning of this month, around about, the SEC, so in the US, the Securities and Exchange Commission, started suing major exchanges. Now, there have been regulatory actions and stuff for the most of the year, really, but this is where I want to start. So the SEC actually went ahead and sued both Coinbase and Binance, which was nuts, right? Because Coinbase is supposed to be one of the most compliant companies and exchanges out there. They're literally based in the US. They have a money transmitter license. They did an IPO. They're on the publicly listed stock exchange with their coin, right? So the SEC suing Coinbase was just nuts, right? But that is what happened. And obviously, just because the SEC sues them doesn't mean they're actually going to win. And the crazy part about this is that it is actually a good thing in the long term, in my opinion, because there was never regulatory clarity around digital assets. The rules weren't clear. There was no laid out set of rules that exchanges and companies could follow in the US, where if they were a crypto business or a crypto exchange or anything like that, they had to be compliant with A, B, C, D, E. And then, if they were, then there wouldn't be an issue. And if they weren't, they could either fix it, or then obviously some regulatory agency could come after them. But there were never any rules. There wasn't any clarity. So this is going to force the SEC or the regulatory bodies in the US to actually come up with a set of rules. Because how can you go and sue a company for doing something wrong if there's no rules that you can base that right or wrong on, right? So either the SEC is just going to withdraw everything and lose, or they're going to be forced to draw up a framework, and then other companies, exchanges, etc., are going to have to become compliant to that. So either way, in the long term, I think this is really good for the crypto and digital asset space. So we have over here Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase. I'm not going to read through all of it, but basically they're saying they're going to fight this lawsuit, and the end result is either, like I said, it's probably the SEC that is going to have to draw up some set of rules, or maybe the SEC loses completely, or maybe there's some sort of settlement, who knows. But either way, the outcome, I think, is going to be net positive for the crypto space. We also had the SEC file a motion to freeze cryptocurrency held by Binance in US, and they obviously sued Binance too. So I'm not going to go into the specific details of each case. If you want, you can go and Google that. It's not too important. The point is really that I'm trying to show you this timeline where the SEC went on this warpath. They started suing exchanges, right? And as a result, what we got is we got a bunch of crypto exchanges that actually decided to leave the US, or that can't work in the US anymore because of the regulatory uncertainty. Obviously, it cost them a lot of business. They don't know how to proceed forward. So, for example, we have CoinEx to leave the US after filing a lawsuit. We have Bittrex, one of the older crypto exchanges that has been around many years. They actually just left the US, right? They're even bankrupt in the US, apparently. So this is the timeline. We had the SEC go crazy, start suing a bunch of people, making threats. As a result, a bunch of businesses and exchanges that can no longer operate, where there's no clarity or where there's no point in operating, they lose business, it's not worth the risk, and so on and so forth. They just decided to close or pack up shop or go somewhere else or anything like that. Okay, so this is the timeline that's happening. So then we get the news that BlackRock, which you can see here, just to give you an introduction, it's an American multinational investment company based in NYC, founded in 1998. It is the world's largest asset manager with 8.59 trillion in assets under management as of 31 December 2022. So after the SEC sues Binance and Coinbase and all this happens, then we get BlackRock, who is going to apparently file an ETF for Bitcoin. And because they're so big, their track record of getting ETFs approved by the SEC is 575 to 1, right? So BlackRock has an incredible track record of getting ETFs approved. So by them filing for a Bitcoin ETF, based on that track record, it's very likely that we might actually this time around get an ETF, which is insane. So the timeline is the SEC goes and sues a whole lot of crypto exchanges and companies. Some of them leave. And then the big players step in. BlackRock files an ETF. And in the wake of that, we got a whole lot of other people following suit, all right? So we have BlackRock here, monumental impact of tokenization. So they're talking about putting real-world assets potentially on the blockchain, okay? So that sounds very, very promising for the long-term future of digital assets. Then what we have is we have the Fed Chair Powell, who here said that the Bitcoin and crypto asset class appears to have some staying economy. So again, instead of saying, Bitcoin is a scam or anything like that, or it's going to disappear, no, they're admitting, it has some staying power. So then what we have is we have Coinbase winning at the Supreme Court as the ruling backs arbitration. So again, that's another win for the industry. Then what we have here, we have Crédit Agricole. It gains crypto custody registration in France. The traditional finance giant has been rumored to be seeking the status for years. This is the asset servicing arm of banking giant Crédit Agricole and Santander. It has been registered by French regulators to provide crypto custody services. Again, on the heels of after suing Binance and Coinbase, after BlackRock filing for an ETF approval, we get that. Then we get another massive bank, Deutsche Bank, who has applied for a crypto custody license. Several institutions from the traditional finance industry have been expanding their services by integrating crypto products. German-based Deutsche Bank is the latest one to the list. 1.4 trillion asset manager has applied for a regulatory license to operate a custody service for assets like crypto. Nuts, right? Then what we have here is we have the $94 billion Wisdom Tree has filed to launch a spot Bitcoin ETF. Again, they're filing. It doesn't mean it's going to get approved. But with BlackRock having filed and their track record, the chances is a lot better now, I think, of getting an ETF approved. Then we have $4.5 trillion Fidelity is rumored to also file for a Bitcoin ETF. Then what we have also is the $1.5 trillion asset manager Invesco reactivates their spot ETF filing. So obviously my logic here would be if they saw BlackRock is filing for an ETF and based on their approval history, it's going to make sense for anyone who has rejected it or who was planning to file an ETF to go and refile that, because now potentially the odds of getting approval here has changed, right? And maybe it's all going to happen all at once. Then what we have here is a Bitcoin ETF launches on the Euronext Amsterdam Stock Exchange. So Bitcoin Equities ETF debuts on Euronext Amsterdam, enabling mainstream investment in Bitcoin with UCITS compliance. And then the crazy thing is the 2x Bitcoin ETF BITX has become effective, scheduled to launch on Tuesday. Right? Nuts. I was doubtful it would happen, but look like it's official. This could be an early sign of the SEC lining up. After BITO launch, I believe they made earlier 2x filers withdraw. So we have a potential 2x ETF, leveraged Bitcoin ETF, that is launching next week. Then we have Hong Kong, which is urging major banks to embrace crypto exchanges as clients. Hong Kong, which is also looking very friendly towards retail investors in crypto. I believe that's starting to happen this month. So you can see what is happening. All of a sudden, the whole narrative, the whole sentiment has completely flipped from being complete fear and FUD and regulatory danger to all the big players starting to position themselves or applying to position themselves to be able to get into the digital asset space. So what I have here is the weekly chart of Bitcoin on the Bitstamp chart going all the way back to 2012. This is a log chart, so keep in mind that it does change the scale here, but it gives for a better overall picture to try and explain this to you. The vertical lines here are the Bitcoin halving dates approximately, and the next one. So we had one in around November 2012, July 2016, May 2020, And the next one is set to happen in about April of 2024, which is about 10 months away, a little bit less than 10 months away right now. Now, what you can see here very clearly on this chart, and that's why I've put it in the scale, is that look at what happens after the halving. Massive bull market, massive bull market, massive bull market. So we've had 3 halving cycles, and so far, every time after the halving, we got a massive, massive pump. And in fact, if you actually go and look at this chart in a bit more detail, which I've done in the past here on the channel, but you can also just pull up this chart for yourself and do that, you can see in the months leading up to the halving, the price tends to start running up already and then continue after the halving. You can see here, basically the price here bottomed a year before the halving, and then it ran up into the halving and continued higher. A similar thing over here in 2015. The price, you can say it actually bottomed over here in January 2015, or maybe over here in August 2015. So about a year before the halving, and it started running up from that bottom into the halving and then continued a whole lot higher. In a similar way, you can actually say that the bottom here was at the end of 2018. We got a rally, we pulled back with the March 2020. That was a black swan, right? If we didn't have that and the world lockdown and stuff like that, maybe we wouldn't have had this flash crash and we would have been a bunch higher by the point of the halving and then continue up higher afterwards. So if this repeats one more time, obviously no guarantee that it will, but so far it's looking good. If we say, well, the bottom was maybe towards the end of 2022 over here during the FTX collapse, and now since the beginning of this year, right, maybe about a year before the next halving, a little bit longer than that, a little bit shorter than that where we are right now. But what if we start to run up into that halving, a slow grind higher, where we maybe hit 40, 50, maybe 60,000 by the time of the halving, then the halving kicks in, and then we go vertical and parabolic in a similar way like we did in 2015. And again, keep in mind, this was a black swan in 2019. What if that does not happen in that same way? What if we get it more like 2015, where it just slowly grinds up all the way without a major pullback into the halving, so into April of next year, we just continue higher, grind higher, and then after that halving, we get a massive pump, and maybe we go to new all-time highs, 100, 140,000, 200,000, who knows? If the cycle repeats one more time, that is very possibly what could play out. And the thing that's important to look at also is that we are simply in bullish territory. This is the 200 and the 50 simple moving average, 200 in red, 50 in blue, and what you can see over here is that as long as we are above, as long as the price is above both of them, it's in full-blown bull territory. And you can see we are in that position right now. The price is both above the 50 and the 200 week moving average. And you can see how it rocketed higher this week after retesting that 200 week moving average. So as long as that is the case, the trend is bullish. It's making higher highs, it's making higher lows. And we are in confluence with all this bullish news that I just talked about. The potential outlook here for the futures crypto is looking really good for digital assets. All these big players are suddenly saying, hey, we want to get involved, we're here, and they're obviously doing that for the long term. So what does that say about the industry? The SEC FUD now makes a lot more sense because maybe they just wanted to get rid of unregulated or not favorable people or whatever the reason is, and let the big boys, the regulated people, step in, and maybe we just get one massive, massive pump ahead of us in a massive, massive bull market. So again, in my opinion, I've been sharing this throughout the bear market also last year. The best time to buy and get involved with crypto is during the bear market lows, when nobody is interested, when there's fear, when there's FUD, when nobody wants to buy crypto, when everyone's leaving, when everyone's saying it's dead, right? The worst time to get involved is when, you know, everyone is euphoric. It's all over the news. It's everywhere. Taxi drivers are talking about crypto, etc. That is the worst time. So the best time to learn and to position yourself is during the FUD and the low periods. And we are starting to move higher, okay? We are already over $30,000 right now, whereas 6 months ago, you had the chance to buy for under $20,000, $17,000, $16,000. So yes, we're at 30 now, but what happens when we're at 50 or 60? That's when most people start to get interested, or 70 or 80 or $100,000 for a Bitcoin. That is when the masses are going to start to buy it. And it's crazy to me every single time that people are not interested at buying at 15 or 20 or 25 or at 30, but then once it gets to 70, 80, 90, 100, they will take out loans and leverage their house and mortgage their house to be able to buy crypto at this point. So hopefully if you're following this channel and you have been following me, you have been learning, you have been positioning yourself, and even if you haven't yet, hopefully by me sharing this to you, showing the potential upside here, again, it's never a guarantee. So not financial advice, only risk what you can afford to lose. But the asymmetric nature of this, you know, what you stand to lose is what you put in, right? So only put in what you can afford to lose. But the upside is 10x, 20x, maybe even 50x on certain altcoins. If we get one more cycle like this and altcoins or NFTs are going to go absolutely nuts, or whatever the new narrative is going to be, you want to be positioned early and not wait for it to get everywhere, for it to pump 10 or 20x and only you then get involved. So smash the like button if you enjoyed this video. Leave a comment down below if you have any questions. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet. If you want to learn from me, you want to join my VIP membership, you want to join my Discord, we have over 2,000 members. And I share all my experience. I have training, I have courses, I have videos about how to get started with crypto, how to trade professionally, how to use leverage, how to use futures, how to get started with crypto. All of that is there, and I provide regular updates, a monthly newsletter, monthly video updates in private that I don't share on YouTube, and also daily insights and updates and my own personal trade ideas and setups in that Discord. If you do anything with crypto, it is a no-brainer to sign up. There's also a 60-day money-back guarantee, so click the link in the description down below. I explain it all to you. Come and sign up, come and see for yourself. And even just one trade could pay for the entire membership fee. So thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video.